My name is Joy, but I'll have to admit I was not very joyful when I couldn't stop talking about doggy turd every few hours. The story I'm about to tell you is written in my notebook. I don't actually remember any of these incidents, to be honest. The last thing I clearly remember, though, is being late for my math test. I was running to catch the bus. I was so late for my test. My parents would kill me if I missed it. Suddenly, a blind man on the sidewalk stuck his stick forward. I dodged it at the very last minute. And then I saw it, a doggy turd on the sidewalk. It was too late. I slipped on it, and I flew in the air. And well, that's my last real memory. Mom later told me I fell on my head and got a concussion that put me in a coma for 3 weeks. The doctors apparently told my parents they should prepare for the worst. She said Brody, my twin brother, kept telling her that I waved at him when no one was looking. He said I was a drama queen who was enjoying time off school. It's usual for Brody to be so annoying, but this time I guess his attention-seeking lies saved my life. The doctors were so confused that they didn't pull me off life support. When I woke up, I yelled, "I'm about to slip on a doggy turd!" Everyone got really quiet in the hospital room while Brody burst into laughter like a maniac. Finally, the doctors saw a pattern. Not only did I repeat the same thing every few hours, but I also forgot everything after that point. But to make matters worse, Mom and Dad were sad that I was spoiling their perfect life. That night, I woke up wondering what I was doing there, when I saw Mom sitting in a corner furiously typing away on her phone. I called her 10 times, but she said, "Will you please wait, Joy? I have a huge party planned for tomorrow, and I have to send the invites." How could she? I needed her the most. When I came home, my parents argued about whether I should be kept in my room or be allowed downstairs for the party. Since I could go a few hours without resetting, my mom thought they could let me come home, saying, "If she's missing, I'll have to tell everyone about her condition." But she kept repeating, "Don't talk to anyone. Stay in the background. Keep your mouth shut." She knew better than to stress me out because the stress triggered my condition. Geez, my mother went from one guest to another, flashing her smile. Suddenly, she froze when I yelled, "I am about to slip on a doggy turd!" The glass fell from her hand. All eyes were on me. Oh, dear God, no, I had done it again. My dad dragged me to my room and shut the door. My mom locked herself in her room and said she would never come out. She cried, "How will I ever show my face in public again?" As if that wasn't bad enough, Brody began using my memory loss for his own benefit. Thank God for Sally, my best friend, who was there for me every time. As soon as I was discharged, Sally came over. She said, "I hate that your memory loss stops you from going back to school." So she told my mom she was going to spend the weekend with me to understand my condition and to help me cope with school. My mom was already having a really hard time accepting her broken daughter, and she gladly handed over the responsibility for me and my problems to Sally. One evening, my brother came into my room and said, "Mom told you to give me $15, remember?" When I said I didn't remember, Sally told me all about how I forget things after a few hours, so I just gave Brody the money. The next morning, I was fast asleep when Brody shook me really hard. I said, "Is everything okay? Did someone die?" He reminded me I had to give him $15 and snatched it from me and ran out. An hour later, Sally was over when Brody popped in, reminding me to give him $15 again. But this time, Sally was there. She screamed at Brody, "Beat it, Brody. Stop messing with Joy or I'm telling your parents." Brody just ran out of my room so fast. He was terrified of Sally because he had had a crush on her for years. A few weeks later, Sally asked Mom if she could take me to the bookstore to see how I would function in public and to buy school supplies. Mom said, "Do whatever you want. I have friends coming over tonight." We had just stepped into the store when I spotted him. This really tall boy was looking straight at me. My heart started beating so fast I felt like it would jump right out through my throat and strike him in the face. I immediately turned to Sally and said, "That boy is going to be my husband." To my surprise, Sally just ran away from me. A moment later, she returned and handed me a new notebook and a pen and said, "Write down what you feel about the boy." I was super confused, but I wrote it all down and she said, "From now on, always keep this with you." Sally filled me in on other details and said his name was Amit. From that moment on, the notebook was always with me. Sally also set an alarm on my smartwatch to remind me to write things down. Thanks to Sally, I started school soon afterwards, and things seemed a lot better at first. The reason why my parents allowed me to go back was because they thought that being in familiar surroundings would help me stay normal, whatever that meant. But that obviously didn't work out. As soon as I walked into class, I saw the most handsome guy in the world. He was tall and dark, and the moment I saw him, I wanted to be his girlfriend. The very same day, he walked up to me and said, Hope your memory alarm won't stop you from going out with me, or I'll be heartbroken." Just as I was about to say yes, I suddenly shouted, "I'm about to slip on a doggy turd!" Sally was shocked. My smartwatch alarm hadn't gone off, so what just happened? Apparently, stressful situations reset my brain quicker and unannounced. Amit made my life worth living. One day when we were in the cafeteria, Amit made a video of us hanging out together. He realized that videos helped me remember everything faster, so he got very serious about it. He ordered a cool camera and even bought a tripod and gimbal so he could document our time together. One day, he came up to me and said, "I love you, Joy Joy." And I said, "Are you making a YouTube video? Because even though you're really cute, I don't know you." He laughed his head off and kissed my cheek, which made me blush red. A week later, Amit said he wanted to take me to a movie, and Sally said it was a bad idea. He didn't care. He and I sat together holding hands, and after a few hours, I screamed about doggy turds. Everyone would laugh, but Amit wasn't embarrassed at all. Every night, I read my notebook and smiled, knowing I was falling in love with Amit. One morning, Amit gave me a long gold chain with a real USB as a pendant, which was engraved with the words, "Watch me every day." I asked, what kind of a person needs a USB around their neck? But he just smiled really cute and left. His gift was super weird, but he was super hot, so I checked the USB. It contained videos of all the fun things we did together and footage of me screaming about doggy turds at strange, awkward moments. The next day, reading my diary, I had a brilliant idea. I knew how to get back at Brody. He opened his backpack in class and his underwear fell right out. Oh, the look on his face. Sally started laughing so hard. "You need spare underwear for school? Why don't you just get diapers instead?" Brody turned red and looked like he was about to cry. Well, getting even with Brody was easy enough. It was harder dealing with how embarrassing Mom found me. A week later, Mom was hosting a brunch for all her hoity-toity friends. Before going down, she came to my room. She said, "Joy, please stay in your room for the next couple of hours. I don't want you shouting embarrassing things in front of my friends." She took my hand and wrote, "Must not go down till Mom says I can," and left. I felt really sad and curled up in my bed. I woke up and it seemed it was dark outside. My tummy was growling. I went downstairs to get myself some food when I heard Mom and Dad talking in the lounge. Mom said, "Oh, this is just so hard. All the girls today were talking about how their kids are going off to Ivy League universities next fall. And then there's Joy, who's now as dumb as a goldfish." I walked back to my room as Dad consoled her. My heart broke at their words. The only good thing was that I would forget about it in a few hours. However, things soon became even worse. One day, Amit was dropping me home when he asked me if I would like to meet his parents. I was thrilled and said I'd be delighted, and I said, "Well, I'd like you to meet mine too." Maybe when Mom found out I had a boyfriend, she wouldn't think I was the loser she thought I was. That weekend, Amit and I planned a whole meeting the parents' surprise dinner. When I got to the restaurant with my parents, Amit and his parents were waiting for us with his family. Everyone looked so confused. Then Amit took my hand, just like we'd planned, and said, "We are dating." All hell broke loose. My dad screamed, "No daughter of mine is dating someone different. No, you are not dating my daughter." Mom turned into a red tomato of anger and said, "Joy isn't allowed to date." Amit stepped in and said, "Please listen." But just then, the unthinkable happened. I blurted out, "I'm about to slip on a doggy turd." That made Amit's mom stand up so quickly that her chair fell backwards. She said, "Joy is, strange." And his dad said, "I don't think our lifestyles and culture are similar. I find this girl rude and vulgar. My son can do so much better." The next day, Amit showed me a recording of it all. Amit and I were still committed to taking our relationship to the next level. But it wasn't easy. I was leaving for school the next morning when Mom and Dad ambushed me. Mom screamed, "You can't date someone like Amit. He's poor and different." And I thought that was so ignorant. But before I could say anything, Dad threatened, "If you don't break things off with Amit, I won't pay for your college education." I screamed, "Don't you get it? I can't ever go to college with my short-term memory." That just reminded them how I wasn't the perfect kid anymore. Furious, I went to school when Sally ran up to me saying, "Hey, the new principal is looking for you. We should tell him about your situation." I told her she didn't have to come with me. I said, "I think I want to try this alone, Sal." She hugged me and said she was proud of me. On my way to the office, though, someone pushed me into a dark corridor. I freaked, and that was before she said, "You cannot date Amit. I will not allow it." I was furious. I jotted down everything, but just as I was about to write the name of the girl, she snatched my notebook, my flash drive, and my watch. Then I clocked out. I don't know how long I sat there when suddenly the principal pounced upon me and yelled, "Miss Joy, in my office right now." As I followed him, my memory reset and I yelled, "I'm about to slip on a doggy turd." A few kids standing nearby laughed as he turned red. As he called my parents, I tried to explain to him that I had no idea what was happening. He simply said, "One more word, Miss Joy, and I will suspend you." Mom came in looking like a fireball. She screamed, "How embarrassing! Even Brody has never been such a difficult child." And Dad yelled, "This is all because of that stupid Indian boyfriend. I told you he was no good." Just then, Amit walked in and said, "We'll get through it, Joy Joy." My mom and dad jumped to their feet and started yelling at the principal for allowing this sort of stuff to go on in front of him. He looked super terrified and immediately told Amit to leave. But I'd had enough too. None of this was making sense, so I walked out. The boy followed me looking super worried and said, "Joy Joy, I'll take care of you." But I yelled, "I'm about to slip on a doggy turd." When I came back to myself, I was surprised to see I was holding the hand of a very cute boy. He looked Indian. I pulled my hand away and asked him who he was. He smiled warmly and said, "Joy Joy, it's me, Amit. Don't worry, I'll help you remember. It's all here." And he looked shocked then and said, "Where's your drive, Joy? And your diary?" I pushed him aside and called him crazy and then ran away. But as I was running away, I took one last look at his beautiful face, and for a minute, my heart hurt. Who is this boy? In the corridor, I bumped into Sally and clocked out again. Seeing how confused I was, she asked me where my stuff was. I said I didn't know what she was talking about, and she dragged me around. At the principal's office, I saw Mom and Dad leaving. Mom was crying. I ran to her and asked, "What has Brody done now, Mom?" She just walked away like she didn't know me. The next thing I knew, my parents had made me drop out of school. Sally reminded me of everything. At first, I couldn't believe her, but every time she said Amit's name, my heart felt warm. I asked her where Amit was, but she said she didn't know. A few days later at our house, Sally and I were sitting with Amit while he told me everything. When the bell rang, we went to check, and suddenly Amit's family barged inside, screaming. His mom yelled, "We told you to keep that weird girl away from our son." Then, to our surprise, they threw something on the table. Amit yelled, "Where did you get these?" Then, to our surprise, his sister jumped in and said, "I took them." "You thought you'd just convince Mom and Dad to accept her? There's no way I'm letting that happen after they took away my love from me." Before Amit could say anything, Dad started to yell at me. "I'm tired of all your drama. You're turning 18 next week, aren't you? You're a waste of time anyways. Get out of here and take all this drama with you." For a minute, I thought they were kidding. But in 10 minutes, I was homeless. But I wasn't alone. Sally asked me to live with her, and Amit moved out from his house too. As soon as he got a job, he rented us an apartment. It's been 5 years and we still live in the same apartment. Neither of our parents came to our wedding. And even though I never went to college, I'm now an established artist. Without my parents pressuring me for good grades, I could let my creativity flow freely. And best of all, my paintings don't disappear with memory. And Amit has set up video cameras and televisions in my room to remind me that I am a painter every few hours. I am now updating my diary with another entry. I'm pregnant, and I'm going to tell my husband as soon as he gets home.